Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Mix Tank on Puremix. This is Mix Tank Takeovers with me. My name's Mark Abrams, and thank you guys all for tuning in. Great to see so many familiar people in the chat room. And looks like everybody's got a lot of songs to check out. So we'll do a little bit of housekeeping very quickly before we get started. What's coming up soon on Puremix? If you guys are all Puremix subscribers, lots of new content on the horizon, which is really, really cool. We have a packed month, actually. This Friday, History of the Beatles Recording Techniques, Era 3 comes out. So if you've been following along, we've gone through Era 1, Era 2, and now we're on Era 3. We're in Kenland, and it's amazing. So definitely make sure you guys check that out. It's killer. Very, very cool stuff with how they deal with overdubs and all that in the new era. So week after that, we have another release from Alberto on the UA Spark series. We released the first part of that, the first 4 episodes of that last Friday, and he goes way in depth with all of the UA plugins that are available on the Spark platform and dives into some really cool features and stuff too, some things that you might not know about them, some cool little tricks and all that. So definitely worth a watch. The week after that, we have an interview with David Bendeth coming out. A couple weeks ago, we released David Bendeth mixing The Warning, and that video is insane. It's been getting a ton of great feedback, and it's just been a blast with that release. We also have a very exciting announcement coming up soon with a mixing contest around that video. There's going to be a mixing contest wrap up with a Q&A and special guests, one of which is going to be the band. I'll drop that one, and then there's going to be one on there that I'm insanely excited about. It's going to be David and another person joining on as well. And we'll wait to drop that on you, but stay tuned. So a little teaser. And then the week after that, so April 28th is where we're at this point. UA did the Hitsville Chambers and EQ collection, and they released a video last week with Fab DuPont recreating the sound of Motown in Flux Studios using the Sphere microphones and the modeling from those and the new plugins and all of that to try and do recreation with Louis Cato, which is insane. So definitely, if you haven't seen it, head over to UA's channel, watch the video, and then we're going to have the making of and the behind the scenes of that entire series coming out on April 28th. Leading into May, we're going to have Era 4 of the Beatles on May 5th. And then we'll do some more Spark videos, and then we're going to be bringing a new mentor to the platform in mid-May, Jean-Marie Horvat. He's amazing, and he's going to be mixing a Robin Thicke track. So lots of good stuff on the horizon. Be sure to keep an eye out. We'll send you all the emails and everything. But as always, make sure you hit the notification bell, subscribe, do all the YouTubey things, and you'll also hear about it here. So cool. Without further ado, let's dive into some Mix Tank. We'll just get right to it today. So the way I like to do these is for everybody that's shown up in the live stream, I try to get to as many of your tracks as I can. That typically takes up the time that we have. So if you're in the live stream chat today, please drop your Puremix username and the song that you uploaded. Let me know the song title. That way I can find it and we'll take a listen. So we're going to start off today with a song from, I think his name's Brandon or Brendan Crudel. And the song's called Mr. Warthog. I figured, like, what better way to start than a song called Mr. Warthog. So if you're new here, over on the left, this left, we have a bunch of cards. Those are all the submissions from the Puremix users. In the middle, we have a timeline that's very similar to like SoundCloud. You can drop timestamped comments on it, and this is where people upload their mixes and other Puremix members can comment on them and try to offer us tips or something they might not have thought of. Over on the right, we have a little bit about the user, a little bit about the song, some comments. Usually people will put things like what they're struggling with there or what kind of feedback they're looking for. And we have a track status over there as well. And this one says final mix. So let's check it out. He says, interesting song, maybe a little weird artist said, came in a dream. So it's about a dream. And first spoken word type of song to mix, lots of low end in it. I tried to keep it all as I felt it was the vibe. Curious on your thoughts on the low end and maybe the mix overall. Yes, bedroom recordings, just so you know the source material. Awesome. Guys, this is a live stream, which makes it way more fun. So as you can see, the chat's above me. You guys chime in and let the users know your thoughts as well. This is a joint effort. So let's do it. Here we go, Mr. Warthog.
I had a dream the other day. I was hunting for something to eat. My only weapon was a guitar pick to rustle up wild game meat. I sat patiently behind a tree to let my guitar pick fly like a lightning bolt, like a ninja star, thrown at just the right time. I heard a rustle in the brush, grabbed the pick, and I threw it. It flew into the dark, a bullseye, just the ticket. Out of the brush comes this warthog like that movie where the pig could sing, except he wore a bandana and was humming a tune by B.B. King. He said, "Dude, is this pig yours?" I said, yeah, that's mine. I was trying to rustle up some grub. Sorry about your behind. Well, Mr. Warthog gave a snort, looked at me. This was his retort. He said, "Brother, you got what you need to make a buck or two. Give me that old guitar you got, and I'll show you what to do. You got to pick it like this, strum it like that, sing the folks a story. Put a bucket on the street, collect some change, and get a taste of guitar glory." Never before heard a warthog sing like that. I was stunned, but before I could react, there was a rustling in the brush and I threw another pick. A figure rose up from the thicket and I felt a little sick. Out stepped a tattooed moose, snorted and clawed the ground, moving towards me like a Big Mac truck, thought I was heaven bound. Mr. Moose handed me the pick and says, "Looks like you misfired. You could try to run, son, but you just died tired." Fortunately, Mr. Warthog told him about what he knew, how he also got hit with a guitar pick, and suggested what I should do. Well, Mr. Moose, he gave a snort, looked at me, gave the same retort. He said, "Brother, you got what you need to make a buck or two. Give me that old guitar you got, and I'll show you what to do. You got to pick it like this, strum it like that, sing the folks a story. Put a bucket on the street, collect some change, and get a taste of guitar glory." Well, soon I was sitting around a fire with woodland creatures. We sang songs, they told me stories about what nature could teach us. We ate mushrooms and berries and drank from a crystal stream until the sun peeked over the mountains. Now I'm not sure if it was a dream. Well, I said goodbye and I wandered down the trail. Found a nice street corner to play on and an old rusty pail. I started singing songs my woodland friends taught me to play. Birds were singing, dogs were dancing, people starting to sway. So there's no moral to this story, I'm not trying to preach. You do you, but put a nickel in my bucket so I can get something to eat. And I'll always remember the words of Mr. Warthog and Mr. Moose. When they cut loose, they said, "Brother, you got what you need to make a buck or two. Give me that old guitar you got, and I'll show you what to do. You got to pick it like this, strum it like that, sing the folks a story. Put a bucket on the street, collect some change, and get a taste of guitar glory. Get a taste of guitar glory. Yeah, get a taste of guitar glory."
Awesome. If a warthog tells you to get a taste of guitar glory, you get a taste of guitar glory. I'm guessing that was a fever dream, and it's amazing. So very cool. I want to have some dreams like that. Okay, sounding great. I love the direction of it and the feel of it's all there. It's yeah, it's like right in the wheelhouse of like the stuff that you submitted before, and totally dig it. I kind of imagine that you just like live on a lake or like an ocean. You have like an ocean house and you just make awesome songs like this about warthogs all day. It's pretty cool. Mostly because of your profile picture. So, okay, so the main thing is obviously like the lead vocal is the center star here. Um, and I feel like overall overall comment on the mix is that things feel a little bit compressed. Both the vocal, the drums, there's some things in there to check out. Hold on one second. There we go. So the lead vocal feels like it has a mask on it in the low mids. So there's something in there that's kind of like rumbling around or resonating more than rumbling around, I guess. It's not like a low rumble sub thing. It's like a resonant deal kind of in the low mids that just kind of make everything a little bit cloudy. And I feel like that's across the whole mix, but I also think that it's something that needs to be dealt with on an individual level as opposed to doing like a stereo bus EQ and then notching out some low mid stuff to clean it up. So specifically, stuff that's competing with the vocal, and most of my comments are around like the star is a lead vocal. It's a spoken word thing. The song is about a warthog. We need to hear all the lyrics. Like obviously, we need to know all about that dream. So the listening through it, I think that there's a conflict between the bass guitar and the vocal, and that's happening in that low mid like, and I'm thinking like 160-ish area is probably where I'd like start pointing my EQ toward. And it's got some like blooming resonance in the bass at that point that's mixing with the blooming resonance in that point on the vocal, and I think it's all just kind of getting a little murky in that area. So on I would clean up the vocal, but I would try maybe mute the vocal and see if you can clean up the bass guitar in that range. Not like doing massive cuts, just like trying to do a little tuck and make some room for it. And then to get the definition out of the bass guitar, a trick from Vance Powell, and that seems to work for me almost every time, is boosting around like 800 or at the octave point of 1.6K. You can usually get a lot of really cool definition out of that without it getting overly gritty or attackish or opening up the tone too much because it's a bit of a dark bass sound. So I would try a little tuck on the low mids and then looking for some definition around there to just kind of bring out some of the notes and the articulation of his playing and all that. The shaker, well, let's stay on the low mid thing for a second. So the kick drum might have something going on in there too. It's a little bit big and lacking a little bit of punch. So maybe look for a little bit more definition in the kick, and that might also help to clean up those low mids. And then in the vocal too, just see if you can clean that up a little bit. Also, going back to the compression comment, the drums, like I'm hearing added length to them after like a cymbal hit or something. Things kind of like tuck down and then bloom out a little bit and add sustain and all that. So there might be a little too much compression going on there. I'm not sure if it's going on the stereo bus across the whole mix, but it feels individual. So I'd see if maybe you back that off if the drums get a little more natural and open up. They may not, and you might like it where it is too. So, but the big thing is just cleaning up the low mids in there, and the compression's kind of bringing up some of that stuff too. So going back to the shaker, it feels a little bit forward to me. It's, I think, the brightest thing in the mix, and it's brighter than the vocal, which makes the vocal feel a little dark to me. Um, with frequency stuff, sometimes with high end, you can think of that as, let's say that like, let me figure out how to turn my hand here. Let's say that we're looking at the speaker cone from the side, right? So we're looking at the side of the speaker. When you boost top end, if this is where the listener is, I view the source as kind of like leaning forward out of the speaker. So if the shaker's bright and the vocal's not, we could say that the vocal is sitting like right here. As the high end of the shaker comes up, it kind of leans out in front of the singer a little bit. So that's something I would kind of look at as just deciding if that shaker is causing your vocal to feel a little bit more distant. That's going to be taste dependent for sure, but it's something to just kind of think about and maybe play with and see. That's going to be a your mileage may vary thing, and I would say again, just play with it and see which one gives you the vibe that you like. But it'd be a thing to look at if you wanted the vocal to be more forward. What happens if you tuck the shaker back a little bit, or go the other way and match the brightness of it with the vocal? Either one of those would probably add some clarity to it. The on the guitar solo, there's a little bit of low end build up, especially as he's kind of exiting the solo. He, kind of sweeps down. There's a little bit of a low end like woof kind of thing that happens in the solo that was happening on my right. So I would take a look at that and just see. Sometimes I'll automate an EQ band just at that point to just kind of deal with the build up or the mask that might appear in that section and just clean it up just in that note. You don't have to go too far, I don't think. It would just be like a little tuck. And then the yeah, actually, I think that's it. That's all that I had down. So yeah, just compression stuff, dealing with the low mids a little bit, and just really focusing on the vocal. There's, I want to actually give somebody or give everybody something to think about. This is, I had a conversation with John Paterno recently, and he was talking about something that he makes all of his students do before like a mix or when they're analyzing a song. And he has this like little questionnaire, and there's a couple pieces that I want to tell you about from it without, giving the whole thing away of it. But basically, like, I've been doing this, when I go to start a mix, if I haven't heard the song before, if I didn't work on it and I'm just mixing it, I'll kind of go through these same sorts of questions in my mind while I'm listening to the rough, and it helps you to paint a picture for the entire mix before you even start moving faders because you have a plan, basically. So some of the questions, I'll have to talk to him and see if this is something that we could release to everybody, because I think it's really cool for like developing a game plan for the mix instead of just kind of diving in blind and turning things. But um, some of the questions that I really like are what are like the three elements that make up the heart of the record, or he words it as the locomotive force. So what are the three things that are really important in this mix? And to me in this one, it's first and foremost the vocal, because we need to hear the lyric. Second up, the Warthog is talking about guitar glory, I believe, if I got the lyrics right, and the storyline correct. But guitar glory, like, this is a guitar forward song for sure. The guitars need to be felt and everything, especially because the Warthog told you. And then from there, it would just be the rhythm elements and making sure that the groove is feeling good and giving that picture that you have in there. So yeah, that's one. And the next one is, just kind of things about like, what's the tonal quality of the record that you want? Is it going to be bright? Is it going to be dark? Does it need to feel dry or spacious? And kind of asking your questions, before diving into it. So I'll talk to John and see if we can get that released for everybody, because I think it's a really cool concept to ask these questions before you dive into a mix, and then moving forward with intention, which we say so much on here that everything's about intention. So yeah, that's kind of the thing. Ask yourself what the song's about, what's the vibe of it, what are the main elements, and can I make those all push forward? Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you. Oh, cool. Brandon, you're in the chat. Sweet. Awesome. Thanks so much for submitting. That was a cool song. Let's move on. So I'm going to check out the chat here and see who else has got songs in the chat. If you're just joining us, make sure if you submitted a song, put your username and the name of the song in the YouTube chat, and I'll get to it. Mike's got something today. All right. Awesome. Walking in the Rain. Let's check it out. So Mike Ornsby, always fun when you submit something. And I'm going to drop a little spoiler because I'm excited about it. And Mike, I think you'll dig it, and we'll have to chat at some point about this. But I'm converting this room to an Atmos room, which is going to be amazing. So yeah, so we're going to have to get some Atmos going on Mixtank. Okay, I say that because Mike is also building an Atmos room and loves to make stereo stuff sound like Atmos as well. So okay, this is Walking in the Rain. He says, something positive from an otherwise dreary day. Just out walking in an early spring morning, nurturing the soul, and wrote this, went with a classic but vibey feel. And note to me, I kept this one short and sweet just for me instead of the usual longer orchestral piece. Awesome. All right, 2:39. This is super short for you, Mike. All right, here we go. Amazing as always. You always like bring such good vibes on there. Unless you mean them to be bad vibes, then but yeah, it's strong. That's awesome. I can totally see the like rainy day kind of vibe going on there. Um, I love the circular guitar thing too. That was totally wrapping around my head, which was really neat. Which let us know which plugin you use for that. I was just, trying to figure that out, and I was like, it's got to be like Brower motion or something like that, because you really feel the actual circular motion of it, not just like a pan left right thing, which is cool. Love it. Sweet. Okay, so the biggest thing for me is the face on it. It's extraordinarily wide, like you like to do your mixes, and that's cool. If it was some the mono, things would totally disappear on it. It's a taste thing for sure. For me, it's kind of like, what do you have to worry about? If you have to worry about it translating for radio, or some sort of situation where it's played over a mono speaker or something like that. But kind of when you're doing stuff for yourself too, maybe you don't worry about it. Um, it depends on what you're trying to do, if you're trying to distribute or not. I think it is a bit out of phase and all that, and so wide that again, like, things would cancel. But you know up to you. The other thing I heard was there's a lot of sub-frequency rumble in it, so I think I'm hearing it mostly on, I'm guessing, overheads. It's whenever there's a hat hit, when he's closing the pedal on the hat to keep time. I'm hearing a low end boom on that, so I would just say high pass some stuff on that. So uh, I think you could even look at like the kick drum, or whatever's going on in the bottom there, and just remove some of the rumble stuff. You don't have to go so high that you feel like you're thinning things out. I'll typically, for this kind of stuff, like, I love the back CQ I love the filters, the low pass and high pass filters. Or definitely love the high pass, and also love the low pass, I should say it that way. It's all reversed. But uh, that thing, I'll usually just tweak it up until I hear things get thinner. I'll roll it back, and see like how that feels. I'll roll it back one more click and see if that's too far back, and then I'll put it back in the middle. That's usually what I do. Same thing on the low pass filter up top. I'll just kind of bring it down until I hear the sound of like the hi-hat, or the cymbals change, or if it's a guitar, as soon as I start hearing the definition change, I'll dial it back, and then I'll possibly like zero that out or bypass, and then go back to that setting, see if I lose too much or if it's doing what I want it to do. But both of those are great, and you don't need the back EQ to do that, though. Obviously, you could do it with any EQ, and just bring it up until you hear things start to thin out a little too much. Bring it back a little bit, and then see if you're in a good spot with it. Um, Man, other than that, like, I think the balance is actually really good on it. It's just the width of it, and the phasey artifacts that come from that. But also, that guitar was circling around my head, and I'm listening on two speakers right now, so that's pretty cool. Who needs Atmos? You got Mike. That's awesome. That could be a slogan for you. Very cool. Awesome. Yeah, cool. Just done for fun. Yeah, it's beautiful, man. Nice job. Very cool. Did you play everything on that too? I think I ask you questions like this every time. But yeah, very cool. Let's see. So the plugin that you used, let me see if you say it on here. Oh, you haven't said it yet. Yeah, let me know about the plugin that you used on the guitar, because it's super cool. Awesome. Um, JR Band says, nice verb on the guitar. Totally agree. That was great. Frank says, great performance. Sounds a little disconnected. I think that's just the width of it. And yeah, awesome. Let's do another one. Cool. All right. Let's see. Let me scroll up here, see who else we got. Mr. Warthog. That was the best name ever. Okay. We did Walking in the Rain. We did Mr. Warthog. And let's do, oh, Deficiency. Good to see you, man. Let's Get Hurt. Let's Get Hurt. There we go. And let's see what you say about it. So this is the master. I'm still working on music for local DC artists. Most of the work I'm doing is singer-songwriter type stuff, including this vocal and ukulele track. Nice. Given the stripped down sound of this, I'm mostly looking for feedback of mixing on vocals and the quality of the master. I recorded, produced, mixed, and mastered this. Nice. Okay, let's check it out. Here we go.
Another bot swiped right on my dating profile. I didn't mean to say boy. I met a robot who's trying to steal my information, and not so it can buy me flowers. And it's like 80% of the goddamn internet is trying to deceive you, but it's not true. The love's not.
Wait, hold on. Did she say 8% or 80%?
Internet is can buy me flowers, and it's like 80% of the goddamn internet is trying to deceive you, but it's not true.
I'm gonna go with 80.
Love's not worth the work, so let's get hurt and let's just try. Let me look into your eyes and see if the constellations align, and let's just see what we could be. And if it all comes down to sheer dumb luck, at least we were just dumb enough to try. I see these couples, the ones with the matching outfits, and I instinctively groan. But if all it took was an ASOS order, I'd pay up not to be alone. And I know trust is essentially handing a knife to someone who could stab me, hoping maybe I won't just end up dead. So let's get hurt and let's just try. Let me look into your eyes and see if the constellations align, and let's just see what we could be. And if it all comes down to sheer dumb luck, at least we were just dumb enough to try. Another boy swiped right on my dating profile. I guess it's time to say hi.
Nice. Okay, awesome. The first thing that hit me as soon as I turned it on, great job on it. And first thing that hit me is the ukulele is in front of the vocal. So kind of the same thing that we were talking about on the Warthog song where the shaker was pointing out. I feel like the ukulele is sort of doing this thing where it's leaning forward because of the brightness of it. And I'm hearing a lot in the high mids of it, which almost gives it a steel kind of sound to it. So I'm wondering if it had less of that boost on the ukulele, it might bring more emphasis to the vocal, which would help the vocal sit just slightly in front of it, which would be good for connecting more to the lyric of it, and which the song has great lyrics. That was really cool. I still think it's 80% of the internet is trying to deceive you, but not this 20%. All right, but yeah. So I think it's maybe just a little bit bright and in the high mids, and you can check that out. The other thing is for the vocal, it feels very dry, which is cool. That's a vibe. But I do hear the space on the ukulele, the reverb that's happening way out on the sides. It feels like there might be some widening on that verb, and something struck me a little weird about it. It also might need a little bit of a high pass on it. But it might be neat if there was a touch of that vocal in whatever that reverb is on the ukulele or that processing, just to put them in the same space a little bit more, and give some dimension to the vocal. But overall, I think it's really cool. It sounds awesome, like it was tracked well. There's some like intonation stuff on the ukulele and everything, but that's kind of out of your control, and you couldn't really melodyne a solo. Well, who knows until you try, but I think that Melodyne would probably not fix that if you used like the polyphonic mode and all that, because it's so exposed and all that. You would hear warbling and all those things. Could be worth a try, but it'd probably be pretty difficult. Curious if the vocal and the uke were tracked at the same time, if you had to deal with like a bleed thing between the two of them or not. But yeah, I think it sounds great. That's awesome. Very cool. There's a band out of DC that I love named Mallow Hill. Somebody to check out. Deficiency. There you go. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Thanks for submitting that. Very cool. All right, let's see. We got Till We Rise Up from Alex the Play. And if this is your first time here, if you put a song in the chat, I'm not going to be upset if you repost it again if you think I've missed you. Just go ahead and put it again in the chat because I'm scrolling. I've got YouTube up on a screen here, and I'm just like scrolling through the chat. So sometimes I miss them, and I want to try to get to everybody. So if I miss something, please let me know. We'll try to get to it. Okay, here we go. This is Till We Rise Up from Jujul Barbu, and he says over in the right, "Hello, fellow Pure Mixers. This is my first mix. Awesome, man. Welcome to the craziness. So be nice with me or I'll crumble in the corner of my studio." I do that, and it's definitely not my first mix anymore. Don't hesitate to be exhausted with your feedback as I really want to improve my skills. This track is by the artist Alex Leplay from France. It's a rock track with an electronic beat. There was a ton of tracked guitar to mix. Well, 11 guitars to mix. That's awesome. Here we go. You got to make space for a lot of guitars there. So it was difficult to fit them all and make room for any other instruments. I really struggled with the voice, which was dry. I tried some soft reverb and delay on it, but maybe I should try something else. After sleeping on it, I think the voice is too loud or the guitar is too much in the back. Let me know what you think and what direction to take. Dude, something exciting is you got Daryl Thorpe to comment on your mix. How cool is that? Daryl is the guy who works on the Foo Fighters. He's done Radiohead records. That's insane. He's a mentor. He's got videos on the site. But shout out Daryl. Thanks for doing comments on here. I'll leave his up on the screen so you guys can read him if it's not too small. Let's check it out. Here we go.
Wake up to the sun blazing your eyes. Wake up to the sound of a train afar. Sometimes you conceal your life is too real. Sometimes you concede when you're not afraid. Attach your dreams tied to your head. They might go away when the sun is up. And fill me up with your smile and the words come to us. And take me up to the chair where you sit every day. Hey, till we rise up, nothing to be afraid of. Till we rise up, nothing to be afraid of. The air is fresh now, I'm drinking life out of a champagne bottle. Down to the riverbank where the trees cover my face. And I fell asleep in your lap, I emptied my dreams. And I hear the train, it's coming to get us, get us. Till we rise up, nothing to be afraid of. Till we rise up, nothing to be afraid of.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Great job, man. This is a really great first mix. That's amazing. And congrats on doing that. So, thanks for joining us in the chat too. So, that is Julian in the chat. And all right, let me dive into what I thought here. So, first of all, I agree with all of Daryl's comments. All of those are great. And he's got some really good advice on the guitars. So, I just want to read that real quick. So he says, guitars, it's a mesh of guitars going on right now. I would pick the main guitar part and brighten and also thicken and make the rest of the guitars fill the space around them. So, um, yeah, basically like decide on who's the driver, make that thing great, and it's going to be your guide for everything else. So, overall kind of comments with mixing stuff, everything is about contrast and relation. So if you kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about like think about the direction of the mix before you start the mix and thinking about like, okay, what's the song? What's going on in the song? The energy is it's a up-tempo rock song. The vocals are great. Like that's a really strong performance, I think. And uh, there's 11 guitar tracks. So guitars are important to this band. Obviously, they spent time doing a lot of overdubs. The drums sound like a kick snare kind of loop thing going on, which is cool. Um, but I think like the main drivers of this song are going to be the vocals and the guitars. So thinking about that, it's you have the vocals forward right now. I don't think they're too loud like you're asking. I think they're just the emphasis, right? So more so than the guitars. So I was thinking like, okay, if I was approaching this, this has like a little bit of an Arcade Fire vibe to me. So I'd probably be listening to some of that stuff. They don't usually do as many guitars and as thick like with the arrangement of the guitars, but the vibe of it reminds me of Arcade Fire, probably the kick snare thing that's happening, but and the vocals. So I would probably check that as a reference, and then I'd go over and listen to that reference and see like, okay, well, what are some of the things about this that I like that maybe I would want to bring to my mix, and it might be like vocal treatments or balance things. And then more importantly is the overall shape of the record. So one of the things that I think about when listening to a rough is, do I want this to be a bright mix? Is it going to be a dark mix? Is the song aggressive? Meaning like focusing on the lyric, and is the singer saying aggressive things with a soft performance or vice versa? Um, is the performance connected to the lyrics, which is one of John's questions, which I loved. Is this song supposed to be a tight groove with that kick and snare pattern where like things should be, more staccato and have a lot of syncopation to them? Or is it more like a messy rock thing where it could be like a Foo Fighters thing where there's like, in Foo Fighters you'd have a lot more cymbals in this and everything, but the guitars are like really, doing a wall of sound thing and taking up space and all of that, but it's kind of like not ruining the groove, but gluing the groove in a way versus like a Bruno Mars thing where you're just thinking about like Uptown Funk or something like that. Right now, the kick and the snare are like Uptown Funk to me, and the guitars are like Arcade Fire slash like Foo Fighters or some like shoegazer stuff. So that would be something to think about is like what's the shape of this thing that I want it to be, and then that'll tell you like, okay, well if it's guitar forward, I want it to be a messy rock track, then I'm gonna definitely put more emphasis on the guitars. The kick and the snare don't need to have as sharp of transients, so they could have some more body to them, which would effectively lengthen them a little bit. Like the note value would be a little longer if you make them thicker, and that would kind of start to give more of the genre, feel of the record, if that makes sense. Um, the bass guitar, like just overall on this mix, the bass guitar, Daryl's comments totally on point where like the bass guitar sticks out on the low stuff, but as it moves up the neck, it starts to dip into the background. Compression's your friend there. There's a plugin from Waves that's kind of cool called MV2 that'll bring up low level stuff. I've been playing with that recently and it's interesting. I don't end up going with that trick every time, but it's definitely something that'll like get your head in the space of like, okay, well, when he moves across this part of the neck, things get a lot quieter, either because of his playing up there, like how comfortable he is, or the speed of the part, or just the overall tonality of the instrument. So I'd look for a little bit more even performance out of that, just in how you process the bass guitar. Other than that, I think the ending was a little bit abrupt. It kind of seemed like things stopped on a weird beat, and then there was some, kind of things sustaining out and just dying off, which is totally cool. But I'm wondering if you can make more of a moment out of the ending, especially if you're going to end on the weird beat. Then what could you do around that to emphasize it and make it sound more? If it's supposed to sound like a train wreck, that's cool too. It doesn't sound like a train wreck, but just like everybody's kind of jumping off the train at different times. That's totally cool. But is there something you can do to it to make a moment out of it? And to that note too, as you move from section to section, one of the most fun things about mixing is if you treat each section of the song like a different scene in a movie, it can help you kind of paint pictures of the whole thing, right? So it's like I want the energy to be here on the verse, here on the chorus, and maybe the chorus opens up a little bit and becomes a larger thing, and then things tuck back down for the verse. And what's the overall feel from each one? And then working on the transitions between those scenes to make them seamless, and basically do cross dissolves in video editing, if you will. Cool. I hope that helps. Very cool. Let's see what else we got here. Thank you so much for submitting. Good luck on your second mix. It's going to be awesome. And I hope to see more from you on here. Very cool. All right, let's see. Let me see. All right, we just did that one. So let's do... Dun, dun, dun. We're going to do... That's Till We Rise Up. I think the next one is Late Night Lover. All right. Late Night Lover. This is from Jim. Here we go. Pop it on HD. Jim says, this is a song by Kendall Smith, trying to get the tonal balance right and keep the overall vibe intact. He wanted to sound like the listener was sitting in the room with the artist live. Awesome. Here we go.
Be my late night lover. I'll be your moonlit night. We can make all the stars in the sky. So jealous of you and I'll be your late night lover. I'll be your midnight serenade. I can be anything you want me to be. A secret no one else can see. Right now, stuck in a different place. Right now, past that won't erase. Right now, that look upon your face. Right now, in a secret place, I'll be your late night lover. I'll be your moonlit night, and all the stars in the sky. So jealous of you and I'll be your late night lover. I'll be your midnight serenade. Anything you want me to be. Secret no one else can see. Who are you? The sting of your lips like honey. Who are you? Your insult sounds so funny. Who are you? I give you all of my money. Who are you? You try to stand above me, a late night lover. I'll be your moonlit night, and all the stars in the sky. So jealous of you and I'll be your late night lover. I'll be your midnight serenade. Anything you want me to be, a secret no one else can see. When we wake up, the smear of your makeup, it makes you a little more human to my eyes. Angels will take up, it will all shake up, and I will meet you later this night. You'll be my late night lover. I'll be your moonlit night, and all the stars in the sky are so jealous of you and I'll be your late night lover. I'll be your midnight serenade. Anything you want me to be, a secret no one else can see. the stars in the sky, so jealous of you and I. I'll be your late night lover, I'll be your midnight serenade. Anything you want me to be, a secret no one else can see.
Awesome. Great job, man. Yeah, I totally get the in the same room vibe from it. So that's really cool. I like that you went for that. You had the intention of going for that picture, which is really cool. Definitely was thought about beforehand. Sweet. I see you guys in the chat that are posting your song titles. We'll get to them. Thank you so much for reposting them. Don't feel like you have to stop. Let me know. Cool. Okay, so before I started, Kenneth said, "Don't talk about the enemy," because I was talking about the Waves MV2. Man, things are heated right now. They're heated. Waves. What'd you do? Okay, so Jim also says that he used MV2 on this vocal. So we'll talk about that. The first thing that I was thinking about, because you wrote that you wanted the listener to feel like they're sitting in the room, and I was getting that vibe in the beginning of it, and throughout the whole thing really, was that the vocal, if I'm sitting in the room with the singer, I'm going to be hearing all of the dynamic in their voice, right? Like I'm going to hear when they get louder. That's going to be a thing that's awesome because I am in the room. And it's, if you've ever recorded a great singer and you go in, like if they're warming up or something, or if you, everybody's been around a person singing in front of them or whatever. But one of the things that always amazes me is when I go in the booth and I'm working with an amazing singer and they're singing in the booth and I'm, adjusting the microphone or doing something. And, I put it up and the sound of their voice in the room is amazing and dynamic and huge and all of that. And I'm always disappointed, no matter how good the microphone is, when I go back into the control room and I hear it through the speakers. I'm like, man, it's not that it's the wrong mic. It's just that when you're standing in front of somebody and there's air and all of that energy being pushed toward you, it's a totally different experience. So all of that to say, in the context of making something sound like you're sitting in the room with them, this vocal performance feels very well packaged dynamically. I don't think it doesn't suffer from compression artifacts that you would have if you overcompressed a vocal in, say an 1176 or an LA2A or whatever. I'm not hearing like that clamping down and like choking kind of thing. And, it's not like messing up the frequency or tonal balance of the vocal. But dynamically, it feels a bit constricted in that when he gets more intense or louder, I don't feel the energy from that because the dynamics are being controlled but they're being so controlled that I don't have the energy and the excitement from the person getting more into the song or whatever, or more passionate. So that's something I'd look at is like, what would happen if you let the vocal breathe a little bit more and really focus on that thing of like, I'm sitting in front of a singer and they're pushing air at me and I'm like feeling them get loud and get soft as they're, feeling the song out for themselves and how the lyrics are doing it. Also, with that in mind, the background vocals on the side are a bit louder to me than the lead, which I think is cool from a immersive standpoint of like, I want this thing to really pull you in and all that. But I do feel like the spotlight is being shined on the background vocalist at that moment instead of the lead singer when they're there to support him. So sonically, what's cool sonically sometimes doesn't necessarily push the song forward or do the best thing for the song. So I would take a look at that and just see, should those background vocals feel more connected to the vocalists, or do you like the sonic effect of that? And if you feel like there's an energy from that and it's helping you to push the song along, then that's totally a valid reason. It's just something to consider. The toms, looking at the drums now, the toms are very close to me, whereas the rest of the kick is more in the back of the room. So I get the live feel of the kit from sitting behind the vocalist and it's a little bit more distant and all that. I imagine him like, several feet behind the singer. But then when the toms come, they feel like they're either on the same plane, front to back, they're on the same plane as the vocal is, or like they're just slightly in front of the vocal. So when I hear stuff like that, like volume wise and thinking about like the concept of a mix, like, oh, he's doing a fill, I want to push that and make a moment out of it. That's totally cool. However, in a case like this where everything has this live roomy feel, to have something be like more special effect like or CGI'd, for example, like thinking of it visually, the toms feel like a CGI thing inside of a naturally shot thing, if you will. So just consider like the treatment of the toms. And while I do think that like they do a good job of transitioning us from section to section in the song, does it fit the picture and does it fit this like movie image that you have in your head of sitting in front of this live performer? The guitar solo also, same thing as the vocal. It feels a little bit too compressed to me and not very dynamic. And he's definitely got moments where he's quietly playing and then digging in more, to kind of have some more emotion in it. And I feel like the whole thing, again, it's packaged well, but it just kind of sits on the same plane instead of like as the dynamics increase, it comes forward and moves back and away from you and all that as the player intends to do it. One thing to think about that too, like if you think about groove, if you're playing a groove on a hi-hat, if even with a MIDI part, if you say you're doing like an eighth note hi-hat pattern, and if you play all of those eighth notes at like 127 velocity and they're all just like loud, 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 it's a lot different than loud, soft, 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 loud, soft, 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 loud, soft, 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 right? It's because you can build groove into where the accents are. So I think about things like guitar solos and all of that in the same way, where it's like the player's natural dynamics are part of the groove. And if you package that too close together or smash it down too much, you can mess up the groove of the player. So obviously that we don't want to do that. Only other thing was just I hear some mouth noises, some clicks and pops in between words, stuff that could be edited out. And if you can't cut around it because of breaths or something like that, I always say it on here, iZotope mouth declick is incredible. Default settings, just hit process and that stuff's taken care of and it's great. Same thing on the guitar. There's a couple little like pick noises, sound of the pick hitting the strings and fingers just getting ready in between phrases where it's like it's not a musical thing. It's just a player noise that doesn't really help us attach ourselves to the guitar. If anything, it suspends disbelief. So yeah, those are my only thoughts. Overall, though, this is a great mix. I think it's awesome. I was emotionally connected to it, which is the important part of it, and loved it. So great job. All right, next one. Let's go. So we did Late Night Lover. Next one is going to be Dancing in the Sky, Mix D from Keith Warren. All right, so Dancing in the Sky, Keith Warman. All right, he says, it was my pleasure and quite the challenge to produce, arrange, and mix our own version of this modern classic. Written by Danny and Lizzie and performed by Louisiana swamp pomp legend Don Rich, Mohammed Ayers, and myself. Nice. It began as a basic rhythm section with piano and Hammond organ playing a simple Cajun shuffle. From there, the production took on a life of its own. There are several tracks of guitar, percussion, and background vocals to give the track the emotional push I felt it deserved. I sequenced a full classical string section and choir. Nice! Balancing these elements to maintain power and clarity and fit between two speakers was the most challenging aspect here. I poured my heart into this production and would like to thank Sonic Science Lab and Tom Foolery for your previous feedback. Your advice is greatly valued. Awesome. All right, Keith, let's check it out. Here we go.
What does it look like in heaven? Is it peaceful? Is it free, like they say? Does the sun shine bright forever? Have your fears and your pain gone away? 'Cause here on earth it feels like everything good is missing since you left. And here on earth everything's different. There's an emptiness. Oh, oh, I
Awesome. I want to check out one quick section of this again. Here we go.
I bet it's so nice up in heaven since you arrived. Since you arrived up in heaven.
Sorry, that's just cool. I had to hear it again. Okay, awesome. So, guys, I see you in the chat. Keep putting the song titles in there. I'll just tell you really quick before I comment on this one. I saw The Leaf. I saw Lies Alternative, Never Got Saved, and I Will Make a Day for You. So, guys, I got you on my list. If I've missed you, please yell at me in the chat. We'll get to it. Okay, awesome. So, back to Keith Warren's song, Dancing in the Sky. Great job. This is cool. You mentioned in there that you dressed it up with some strings and choir. It looks like that might have been one of the last things that you worked on. And part of this feels like, to me, those things got the most emphasis. So going back to what I was saying earlier about figuring out who's the driver of the song, what's it about, what's the shape of the record, where should everybody be? This one, again, like the lead vocal is very important here. The strings in the choir are all there. They're put in there to support everybody and to help bring the thing up. And you're going for a huge sound here. It's a beautiful production. All of that's awesome. And I think you guys have done a great job on it. I really like the song. And yeah, so you said to give the track the emotional push I felt it deserved. On that giant swell that I played again at the end there, that was definitely an emotional push. It's really cool. I think it might be overstated, but it's awesome. It's really, really good arranging. So overall, I feel like the strings in the choir are too loud. So I'm going to go back to our like thinking of the image. So I'm looking at my two monitors right now, and I'm thinking like when I'm looking at my speakers, and I've got, you know, a screen in front of me and all that, but I'm thinking about what does this look like to me? And it doesn't have to be an acoustic band on a stage. Like we can create Star Wars, you know, and all of that, but where does everybody sit on the stage? Where are sounds coming from? And what's their volume level relative to each other? Who's standing in front of the other person? I'm thinking in terms of depth. I said a couple weeks ago on here too, but I really think that the How to Listen video from Fab on Puremix is one of my favorite videos on there, where specifically the chapter where he talks about the Z plane, and he talks about even height too, but really visualizing like who's sitting where on the plane, and trying to make that a point. So the reason that the strings in the choir are too loud to me is not a volume thing or like a technical balance thing. It's because they sit in front of the vocal who they're there to support. So it's like they showed up to be the I don't know, I'm struggling to think of an analogy, but they struck up to be the support, and they wound up just like kicking them over and bringing their cellos out to the front, and like the choir too, like everybody just totally Caesared this guy and just went in front of him and stole the stage from him. So what I mean by like they're too loud is they're taking too much energy away from the core of the song, which to me is the vocal performance. And everybody is there to sing the song, right? If this was an instrumental thing and you wanted to make a crazy bold choice like that, more power to you, you know, because you're telling the listener at that point, like, this is what you listen to. But yeah, in the context of this, where we have this lead vocal that we're here to support, and then you're telling the listener, stop listening to the vocal, listen to these strings in this choir. And same thing on the big moment that I played back. While I think that's amazing and it's really impactful that it is louder like that, it only happens for a brief moment, which I think is okay. It might still be a little too loud though, because anytime that you push something out in front of whoever is designated as the person you're there to support, you're saying, listener, stop paying attention to that, listen to this. Okay, go back to listening to that. Right. So that's what I would mean by balance, or something being too loud. I do hear a little bit of phase stuff going on in the mix. Could be widening. Just something to check out. Left, right, phase correlation. And the lead vocal I feel is a little bit dark. I don't know that it's necessarily like a cut the low mids thing. I think that you could do some additive stuff and shape the top end of it a little bit. And really just do a pass where maybe even mute the choir and the strings for this one, and just listen to the vocal and decide like who's the star player here, what is it that I want to, how is the vocal shape that I want to create. And to me, it's a little bit dark right now. You could add some presence to it, top end, Not to make it overly shiny and brittle and, thin and not fun, but just to, you know, turn up the light on the vocal a little bit and bring it more into focus. Yeah, other than that, I think it's great. Again, the production is awesome, and I think that you're on a great path here with the mix as well. Just decide who's supposed to be, who am I supposed to listen to, and really making sure that the mix is telling me that. That would be my big one for that. Awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the Leaf next, and that's from the JR Band in the chat, which is awesome. And I got to add Never Got Saved. I have that one. Let me just see if there's anybody else I missed or any fun stuff happening here in the chat. How are you guys doing in there? Great comments, everybody. Keep chiming in too, because this is a collective thing. Even though I'm the one with the microphone, you guys have the chat. Way more important. Okay, cool. And all right, keep dropping those song titles if I've missed you. So one more time, I'm gonna put on. You're welcome for listening, Keith. Thank you for submitting. Awesome. So up on deck, we've got RJUHL, which is the username, the Leaf, and then we're gonna have Lia's Alternative, and then Never Got Saved, and then I Will Make a Day for You. So if I didn't mention your song, put it in the chat, and we'll get to it. All right, next up is the Leaf. So here we go. So you guys all had fun last week with the waves thing, huh? Everybody happy about that? I'll just stir up the chat a little bit. Okay, so he says this is mixed and mastered from the box. Only analog gear was guitar, mandolin, violin, microphones, and preamp interface. Awesome. All right, this is a master, so here we go.
Just a leaf in the wind. Baby, I know where I've been. Don't know where I'm going to. Now I've fallen next to you. Now I've fallen next to you. I have fallen next to you. If you let me in, maybe I could be your friend. Don't know what we're gonna do now that I've fallen next to you. Now that I've fallen next to you. Yeah, I've fallen next to you. If you hear me through, baby, I could walk with you. Together we'll be on our way, maybe to a brighter day, maybe to a brighter day. Talking about a better day.
Awesome. I just want to hear the string one more time. Okay, awesome. So yeah, great job. This is beautiful. I love the song. The guitar playing is incredible. All of the playing is incredible. I love the vocal. This is super cool. Uh, Lots of great comments coming in the chat too, so make sure you pay attention to those. The I'm going to start with commenting on the violin and the mandolin that happen right there in the bridge section. This feels like it has LCR panning to me, meaning like everything's either in the center, the left, or the right. Totally cool and valid. In the case where the mandolin and the violin come in, they're both sort of features stepping into the picture, right? Equally ish important. You know, maybe the violin's more of the solo piece, but I would consider, you know, if they're both pan center, just moving them slightly off from each other and giving them a little bit more space to breathe so they don't sit on top and cloud each other's way, I guess, just so we can kind of hear both of those parts and what's going on with them. I think, you know, nothing crazy. Like you could go 12 out, you could go 25 out, whatever it happens to be, that feels good to you. But maybe just put a little bit of width around those. If you don't want it to feel like they're panned at all, keep it really tight, but just move them a little bit off of each other. I think you'll get some clarity there between those parts. Other stuff I got, there's, I think my biggest thing with it is the compression on the acoustic guitars. They sound beautiful and you pulled all of the tone out of them. They're rich, but they're so emphasized in it that it's kind of the same thing I've been talking about too, about like who's the star, who we're supposed to listen to when. They're beautiful and they're loud and the playing's amazing. The only thing is they're beautiful, they're loud, and the playing's amazing for the entire song. So there's not a lot of differentiation that happens with them, to the point where it's like they're always so good and there's so much tone that I'm just listening to them the whole time and I'm not really focused on the vocal. So the there is like some compression stuff that I think is going on there where like you have them really really well controlled, but the compression's also bringing up so much low level information that I feel like they're so loud and intense. It's also bringing up like the intensity of the part where I don't imagine that the player played it with a ton of intensity. You know, to the point where it sounds aggressive, like it does once it's been compressed. So I would consider like maybe backing the compression off, but also again, just thinking about who do I want the listener to listen to during these different parts. They feel very static, so maybe they can be that loud at points during the song. If you love the compression and don't want to change that, maybe you just need to bring the volume down at, you know, while the vocals are going on and just do some automation to, doesn't have to be like very obvious stuff. You can be sneaky about it, but just to add a little bit of change as the song goes on and a little bit of dynamic flow with it. The only other thing I had is that's awesome. I love it. That's all I got. So uh, I did have that there's like a little bit of a low mid bloom in the acoustics, but I do think it's because of the compression. I think like they're mic'd very, very well. And I'm just hearing a lot of compression. So that's it. But yeah, beautiful job. This is really cool. It's a great song. And I want to hear more of the lyric. I wanted to be more connected to the vocal than I was to the guitars, if that makes sense. Cool. Zuesk has some comments about the mandolin that are worth checking out. Do check that. And Six of One feels like he walked into Brothers Lounge on the west side, 117th Street. Adrian, let's go there. Let's go. Awesome. I want to see that place. If the music sounds like that, I want to go. Okay, so Danilo is on here. So Danilo, yes, there's still time for your mix. Nana V5. So let me get that on the list here. And then I'm going to read the list off to you guys again, and you can tell me if I forgot you. If I did, just yell at me. So we just did the Leaf. We're going to do D-Pen next. The song's called Lies. And let me go look for that. Okay, got it. This is Lies Alternative Mix from D-Pen. Here we go. Awesome, man. Very cool. Really love this track. That was great. Uh, we have another contender for getting on like whatever the fictional mixtape playlist is that we keep talking about on here. This would be on it. This is super cool. Uh, a quick thing. This is not a plug, like no endorsement kind of thing, but a thing I think you would like is check out Density from Sound Particles. I did do an episode of the Great Big Plugin Show on it. I think that you would love Density from Sound Particles. That plugin is really, really fun, especially for this kind of music and the stuff that you're doing. Check it out. I think you'll dig it. All right. So you had some comments in there about wondering about the top end, like if things are too hi-fi. We'll start there. I think the top end on it, I agree with Tom's comments on here. Um, like maybe you've gone a little far with it, but the I don't know that it ever felt like offensive or crispy to me, like he says. To me, it's just like very present and right there, which I really love. I love all of the like little percussion stuff. I love all the reverse things that you're doing. Um, I'm a huge fan of that stuff anyway, so that just puts it in front of the mix to me, which is kind of a cool thing. Um, at the risk of being a broken record even more, I would say it's just about deciding who the spotlight should be on. So if it's supposed to be on the singer when she's singing, maybe instead of bringing the volume back, you bring the high end of those things back a little bit to just, take some of the brightness off of them. And by brightness, I mean like if you were shining a spotlight on them, dim the light so that the singer has a little bit more emphasis in the visual. The Basically the placement of it tells me that those are more important to the song than the vocal. So if that's true, then that's great, and if that's moving the groove along and you dig it, then that's totally cool. I just mixed a track where we had the percussion super loud, but everything that we did, we like automated it in and out in sections and everything, but we loved it being that loud because it really like forced you to groove with it, even if it was loud, So when I say that, like sometimes loud or too loud is the right thing to do, and it's art and subjective and all that. One thing that happened at some points in the song, there was a reverse sound that was happening in a loop on the right that not all of the time. Sometimes it was perfectly in the groove to me, but then sometimes it felt like it was a little behind the groove and it would fall off a little bit. I think overall, like with all those special effects and everything, you've done an amazing job at keeping it all in the groove. With whatever editing or whatever you had to do, just every once in a while there was something in the groove that was getting a little bit messed up. So that might be something to check out. It was on the right and it was one of the reversed kind of sounds. Other than that, I agree with Tom's comments about the kick drum. Tom said, "Watch out for some boominess," or that's in the bass. And then he said, similarly, once the kick comes in, it's huge. Uh, I also like the idea, but it's a little loud in the mix. His urge is to turn the kick down slightly, or maybe just high pass it a little bit more, take out some of the boom. I think probably a combination of both. I wouldn't go crazy on the high pass because I think it's like a nice sounding kick. It's just taking up a lot of space and it's very loud right now. So check that out. The guitar at 543, I felt like musically it wanted to be featured, but it felt like it was very subdued in the mix. That can totally be cool. It sounds also like it's in the distance. And actually, I have to comment on this too. At the beginning of the song, before the drums come in, you did such a great job of having depth in the mix. Like I felt like I could see down the mix. It wasn't one flat plane or one wall. It was there's a whole picture going on, and it's looking right down it. It's really cool. So great job on that. Yeah, and that was the only other thing. It was just like musically, it sounded like the guitar wanted to be featured, but it was subdued in the mix. There you go. Great song, Deepan. Thanks so much for putting that on there. Uh, Brandon says the drum room sound seemed to disconnect them a little bit. He loved the track. Cool. Might be something to check out. Danilo said it does sound a little bit harsh to him, so you could try doing like a low pass filter. Karen said pokey in my headphones. So yeah, maybe it's a little bit bright and you need to tame some of that down a little bit. At places for me, it's too hype, says Zuesk. So yeah, maybe that's the deal. There you go. Karen Bassett has entered the chat. Amazing. Awesome. All right. Welcome, Karen. Thanks for being here. Kate Bush vibe, I'm in, says Neil. Very cool. Okay, guys, here's what I got on the list. So we just checked out Depends Lies. I have Never Got Saved. I have I Will Make a Day for You. I have La Route and Nana version 5. So we have those four. I could probably fit in one or two more other than that. So if you guys just came into the chat or if you're not familiar with this is Mix Tank on Puremix. I'm here every Monday reviewing mixes off of this. Puremix Pro members can submit their mixes for other people to comment on. And then every Monday I come on and I do it live. So cool. There's a good joke in there from Bill O'Reilly, I think, about doing it live. Somebody else can make that for me in the chat. Okay. Yeah, if you are here and you have a song, put your username and the name of the song in the chat and we'll get to it. Okay, next one is Never Got Saved. And he says, I was dealing with two vocalists who recorded themselves and had a lot of artifacts to deal with as far as their takes. Thoughts, especially EQ moves or anything that jumps out at you. Here we go.
Good, you call me back and you never did. No, I'm just joking. Anyway, I hope you're well.
We never not punk, we just tryna get paid. We're tryna get drunk, cause we never got saved. Ditching got made, so we made our own change. If we don't know who to blame, if we don't know who to blame. Who told you what this is? Who told you what you are? Who told you this was it? Who told you this? Young nigga, I was son to be the sun, go figure, go figure. They go bidder, or go day, spread light, get bigger. Now who the fuck is that? They gon' tell you how to think, take your power back. And we came in through the back, now you see me in the front, and my people coming back, and the coding's in the front, from the city all the back. Wanna get it or you don't, if you see how they attack, when you're doing what you want, if you tell them it's a fact, they'll be coming for your phone. But I think I got something, think I'm with it, don't you get it, think they mad or something, cause you have something, so I made my own change. If you don't know who to blame, if you don't know who to blame. Now who told you what this is? Who told you what you are? Who told you this was it? Who told you this?
Who told you in the morning it'd be over now? Who sorted through the corpses of the sober crowd?
Who told you you'd be dead but you just growing now? Roll the vows that go for miles, they going south, just hold it down.
Used to stumble through the clouds, sifting scenes through the haze. If you blunder through the doubts, who me will never gaze upon the man on stage in the sun's last rays. If you never smile, you won't wrinkle the face, but the soul you leave behind goes rotting in a cage. Why won't you tell me what I wish you would say? My hours to waste, a dream never saved, pontificate on games never played.
Now who told you what this is? Who told you what you are? Who told you this was it? Who told you this? We never got saved, never got saved, never got saved. And we never got saved, never got saved, never got saved.
Cool. Great job. The vocal production on this is super cool. The effects and stuff that you're doing, the delay throws and all of that, I think you did a great job on all that. So very cool there. Lots of really good ideas. So let's talk about the vocals because those are the first things to kind of look at and zero in on to me. These feel in general very overcompressed and dark. So it sounds like there's a lot of low pass filtering going on, and then the overcompression is also bringing up a lot of woofiness and stealing tone from them in the bottom, the low mids for it to me. If you made them that dark because of artifacts, if it's something like mouth clicks and that kind of stuff, mouth declick will do it. Kite says, I did not produce the song, by the way, just mixing two vocalists and the producer. Awesome, man. Yeah, let us know, too, what kind of artifacts were happening in the vocal. But, yeah, the overall, like, tonality of the vocals is that they're very, very dark to me. And as a reference point, you can listen to the hi-hat because that's where the high end in your track is. So that is a reference for why are the vocals dark? Because they're way, way darker than the hi-hat, for example. There's high end in the mix, and that's telling me, obviously, that the vocals are dark. They're also just dark, like they're hard to hear when, kind of listening to it and stuff. So yeah, noise reduction, if you can get rid of some of the artifacts that way, it sounds like you were doing EQ to try to do it. And then I would loosen those compressors up just to let them breathe a little bit and have some more life to them. But yeah, I thought the vocal effects were incredible. I was curious if you mixed the entire beat or if you had to deal with the 2-track on it. Awesome, JLo, I see you. We'll get to Sonic Leo's guitar sound awesome on the Leaf. Nice. Okay, awesome. Yeah, Sean Speaks says, way to work, my dude. Nice track. Nice. There's some production comments in the chat. 6 of 1 said, wish for a saxophone sometimes to support a cool vocal. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Speaking of 6 of 1, I saw and heard your release over the weekend. That thing is crazy awesome. Definitely go check out 6 of 1 on Spotify, guys. Yeah, lots of mid-lows, could use some balancing highs for contrast. Yeah, so I think you really need to open up the top on the vocals, get some presence, and just let them have some more breath, not as compressed as well. That's the biggest thing for me. From there, I think that you can start to look at the things in the beat and all of that, but I think first those vocals have to be dealt with, if that makes sense. Okay, so Kite just responded in the chat. He says, first vocalist is very inexperienced recording himself, so there were artifacts like headphone noise, foot noise, plosives, way too high of S-ing. You did mix the drums, not a 2-track this time. Nice. I thought the track sounded really good. It was cool. Those S's, I would deal with them in a different way than what's going on here, where everything's kind of going dark. Like, sometimes you have to stack de-essers and go crazy. Other times, something like Soothe can be really useful, like a dynamic EQ type of thing. But I would stack a bunch of de-essers before chopping off that much top end, if that makes sense. De-essing and multiband comp darkens vocals. Gotcha. Okay, cool. It's globally dark to me as opposed to just when he does an S, which would cause like a lisping thing versus an overall like mud kind of deal on there. So you might try just a different approach to bypass it, or like bypass all of the effects that you have going on it, and then do a different approach to trying to tame some of that and see if you can do something with it. Cool. That's pretty much what I got for this one. Great track though, and I love the song. I love the vibe of it, and I love your vocal production too. So okay, next one is Flendy Bob. Oh wait, Never Got Saved was the one that we did. No, so it's I Will Make a Day for You. Here we go.
I'll make the coffee in the morning. I'll see you out there when you wake. Take your time, I'll just be right outside. I'll wait as long as you take. We can do whatever you want. I have the whole day set aside. Lead the way and I'll be right behind.
with you's my favorite kind. I will make a day for you if you come back to me. One more day together, I'd drop everything. Dreams of you come flooding in. When I first open my eyes, I hear your laugh, but I don't know the joke. It still gets me every time. I will make a day for you if you come back to me. One more day together, I drop everything. I will make a day for you if you come back to me. One more day together, I drop everything. I drop everything.
Awesome. That's a beautiful song. Very cool. Let's see. So you said in here that you spent a lot of time trying to get the kick to be felt without drawing too much attention to itself. Let me know if that worked. Also, do you feel the vocals sit properly in the mix? Cool. Okay. So my question for you is, did you mix into the limiter or ozone or whatever's going on the stereo bus the whole time, or did you add it on at the end? So let me know that in the chat. This is a very loud mix. It's very aggressive and intense, if that makes sense. The song, to me, is the opposite of all of those things. So listening to the lyrics, I'm imagining like a perfect day. This is peaceful. He's singing very softly. He's calm. He's trying to calm the other person that he's singing this to down. And the mix goes in the other direction for me, where the mix is tense. It's like not peaceful, and it has a lot of anxiety to it, and it's aggressive. So thinking back to like some of the other stuff that I've said on here, if you listen to the rough or just the multi-track, if you just pull up the tracks, no processing, just pull the tracks up and make a balance and listen to the song. What is the emotion of the song? What does it want to be? What's the purpose of the song? Like in this case, this person's like, he's singing a love song to somebody, or singing just, I will make a day for you. Like, I'm going to make a day just for you. Like, we're going to spend time together. It's going to be peaceful and great and all that stuff. And he's talking about like how he's going to feel when he wakes up in the morning and all of that stuff, next to that person or whatever. Those are all like very, like, this is the person who's in love and calm and, all of that. And it's not sung in a way where he's like feeling anxiety about what if the person says no or something like that, or what will I do, or any of that stuff. But that's how the compression of the mix and the volume of it, also the EQ shape of it, makes me feel. So again, going back to like, what is the song about? What is the picture that I'm trying to paint, and the emotion that the song is trying to convey, and how do I support that? So for this one, overcompression to me equals aggression. It equals anxiety. And an EQ curve where you have a lot of top end, or a lot of mid range, and things are a little bit thinner. There's faster transients going on. all of those things are like anxiety, and all of that. So kind of approaching it from that standpoint, um, I would consider, what would happen if you pulled this mix up in the morning, didn't listen to the version that you have on right now, and just pulled off all the limiting or any kind of like crazy stuff that's going on the two bus. Um, cool. So Jesse says mixed into a multiband, added the maximizer at the end. So I think that's the stuff I'm hearing. So if you took both of those things off and then listened to it fresh, like the next day, how does that mix feel? So if you mixed into the multiband, things might be drastically different, like level wise and all of that. And you might have some adjusting to do, but without the maximizer, I think that you would feel some of the tension go away. And then if you, hit pause, went and got a cup of coffee, came back, put the maximizer on and listened again, I think you'd hear the different emotion to it. So that's something I would check out first, I guess. Otherwise, like I like your use of the other instruments, and I think that like the beauty of the song is coming through all of it. So I really think it's just a thing where like at the last second, it could have been like I'm gonna get some more volume out of this thing, and then it pushed it too far past the emotion or whatever. Because I think like some of the stuff is really cool there. The vocal does feel a little loud to me. The guitars, they're more pokey, and they kind of do that thing where I was saying like if you were looking at the side of the speaker, if you have a lot of top end and not a lot of low end, it kind of like reaches out of the speaker like this. It's got height to it, but not a lot of body. Instead of like if you just turn the fader up, it would go like this. Um, so the pick of the guitar is leaning forward to me, and that's another thing that is kind of causing me to be like, oh, it's a little anxious or whatever too. So maybe some of the top end on the guitars is a little too harsh, but it could also be from a multi-band thing too. So that'd be something to check out. And yeah, again, just like at the beginning of the mix, just like sitting down and really thinking about what is the emotion, and then what is the picture I want to paint? What are the big moments? Who needs to have the spotlight when? And it's amazing how much of the mix you can do before you even put your hand on the faders, which is really, really cool. You kind of have this like whole direction to go in and all of that. Obviously, there's still all the, kind of the busy work of like, let me go through and clean this instrument up, and then like, let's play with that versus this instrument and make sure all the, everybody's kind of like in the same picture together. But then you get to start painting, right? Like once all that stuff's done, and you're thinking about like, let me put myself in the position of the singer, and like telling someone that I love like about having the perfect day and all of that, and like really actually get into that headspace. And then what does that sound like? What does that feel like? And does this mix match that? That will answer all of the questions about, is the vocal too loud? Is it too bright? Is it too soft? And it's from a completely different perspective than like when I looked at an analyzer, I saw that the high end was 3 dB louder than my reference. Like it doesn't matter. Think about the emotion, and then like how do you paint that picture, if that makes sense. So hope that helps. I think that's a beautiful song, and I think that you're going to make an amazing mix out of this, and I want to hear it. So when we're back in 2 weeks, I want to hear it. Cool. All right. The next thing. Oh, cool. Zooask has some creative thoughts for you. 6 of 1 says, thought it was close to perfect. Maybe a touch too much at 288K and drop a tad level slightly with more dynamics. That was close to thinking the same thing. Yeah, awesome. Cool. Yeah, 6 of 1 says, this is so beyond good. Love this song. I totally agree. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful song. That's awesome. Very cool. Did you write this, Jesse? Let us know if this is like a song that you did yourself on here. I'm super curious to know that, actually. That'd be awesome. Yeah, Danilo says really beautiful. Congrats, Jesse. Awesome. Martin's in. Nice. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for submitting it. Very cool. Let's see what else we got here. All right, hold on. I have to get back to Mix Tank. And I'm waiting to see if Jesse did that song, because holy crap. That's a writer right there. All right, next one is Flandy Bob La Route. Oop, hold on. La Route. Here we go. Whoa, hold on. I got to stop for 1 second. Sorry, Flandy. We'll start it over again. Jesse wrote, produced, sang, and played that song. Great job, dude. That's awesome. Man, that's a talented guy right there. Jesse, awesome job. That's super cool. I forgot one comment, and that was at the very end of it when you you leaned into the mic for the last word, there was a proximity effect and like some low mid buildup and all that. You could automate an EQ there to like still have the effect of getting really close to the mic without the boom in it. So just like take care of some of the low mask. But Jesse, that's freaking killer. Holy crap. Um, we don't really have awards here, but if I had an award, I was going to pass it to you, Jesse. That's awesome. You did a great job on that song. All right. Flandy Bob LaRue, here we go.
Les larmes de mon corps versées en vain, sans que tu y regardes, ont-tu raison du feu, de la flamme que j'avais dans l'âme. Et j'ai gommé les traces sur ma peau de nos moments de grâce. Peu à peu les stigmates s'effacent dans un souvenir lointain. Alors je brûle l'asphalte parce que ça me détend. Sur le bitume, j'exhale ma chère insouciance. J'ai les cheveux sur la route et les cheveux dans le vent. C'est juste une question de survie. Malgré mes torts et mes doutes, je vais de l'avant. Je deviendrai ce que je suis. Les courbes de tes hanches n'ont plus rien de leur fantastique attrait. Et j'irai jusqu'au point, crois-moi, où j'oublierai ton nom. Alors je brûle l'asphalte parce que ça me détend. Au loin la promesse d'une eau nouvelle et qui m'attend. J'ai les cheveux sur la route et les cheveux dans le vent. C'est juste une question de survie. Malgré mes torts et mes doutes, je vais de l'avant. Je deviendrai ce que je suis. J'ai les cheveux sur la route et les cheveux dans le vent. C'est juste une question de survie. Malgré mes torts et mes doutes, je vais de l'avant. Je deviendrai ce que je suis.
Nice, man. That's a fun listen. Very cool. Okay. So over in the comments, you say same artist as the last one, different song. Artist is happy with this version. It's part of an album with guitar focus, and he doesn't like his vocals too exposed. Cool. Okay. So to me, the vocal is exposed on this one. It's feeling loud, and that's because of the EQ shape and the relative volume of it compared to other elements in the mix. Um, for example, the snare to me is recessed. The kick drum's much louder, but the snare drum's happening kind of far back, and it doesn't have a whole lot of punch to it. So that's kind of telling me where the vocal is supposed to be sitting because I have the snare drum here. That's making the vocal feel like it's up here, basically. So one way that you could do if you wanted to make his vocal less overstated is just bring the snare up so that the distance between them is much shorter. It'll make him feel like he's more a part of it instead of the two being so separate. And I think that that would help the singer feel like his vocal isn't too exposed at that point. I've said it before on here too, like Foo Fighters mixes are a great one of this. There's a song called Run. Um, uh, Somebody name the album for me, but it's Foo Fighters Run if you search for it on one of the streaming services. And the snare drum is like right in front of the vocal, and Dave's like back here screaming, and the effect is like so awesome because it's just like he's angry that he can't be louder than the snare and all that stuff. But definitely check that out. The At 129, there's some guitar licks that are happening, and they happen throughout the song, I believe, but they're over on the right a little bit, and they feel like they're tucked under everything. Like I can't really hear what they're doing, but there's some cool moments happening in there. That might be something to automate. The background vocals feel very buried to me, almost like are they in there, but not in a way of like, oh, they're ear candy. It's like they seem like they play a prominent role, but they're really under in the mix. I love the tone of the vocal. I thought that that sounded really, really cool. The singer's great, and I think, yeah, the tone is really cool. It may have felt a little thin, but you could just play with that to taste because I thought it was really cool. The attack of the kick is very loud. There's times where the kick jumps out of the speakers like back here behind my head to it too. So that's something that might need a little bit of control, especially with the recessed feel of the snare drum. Those kinds of things make me wonder if you might be on headphones on it. Um, Flandy says, I'm just mixing this one as a hobbyist. The song's from my guitar teacher, actually. That's awesome. Nice. Very cool. Yeah, great job. If you're on headphones, that balance between kick and snare can be really difficult. So that's something to kind of check out. That speakers are great for because you get the phantom center image and then you can kind of feel the Z plane a little bit more in terms of depth front to back. Whereas I have a hard time hearing that on headphones. So usually for like balance stuff like that, I'll typically do it on speakers and then I'll kind of check myself on headphones, but something to check out. Cool. Tortilla has his popcorn ready for tomorrow. Nice. Okay. Let's see. Yes, yeah, Daryl Thorpe. Danilo says Daryl Thorpe is the man. And yes, there's a video of Daryl mixing the Foo Fighters on Puremix, which is crazy. Flandy says Slate VSX all the way. Nice. Punchy snare is my weak point. So tip for punchy snare, slow down the attack time on the compressor and let it come through. And then think about the different parts of the instrument. Like you have the body of the snare and then you have the crack of the snare, right? So like 200, 240 body, crack 2K, 5K, that kind of thing, like up there, looking for like the presence and brightness and playing between the two of them. You can get a lot of punch like from adding some body to it, and just make sure you don't want too much or else there's no snap, but make sure that that attack time, if there's a compressor after it, isn't too fast because it'll just eat the transient. And there's all kinds of sayings about like 90% of the sound lives in the transient because that initial like couple of milliseconds or millisecond even, it's how your ear can identify what the sound is, and it's usually from that attack time. I don't know enough about the science of it, but it'd be worth a Google search. And there's something about how fast our ears identify with the sound based on its, dynamic shape and its transient shape and its envelope and all that. So definitely check that out. Okay. Cool. Danilo is also on headphones, but always checks the Waves Abbey Road Virtual Studio. Nice. I have to try one of those and see if I can get that Z plane thing better from headphones and just see how they're doing it because that'd be pretty neat. Awesome. Let's see. During the solo, the vocals are obviously buried under the guitar solo. I was, kind of thinking to myself, is there another way to do that duet? Like, how would I approach that If they really wanted the vocals to be back and the guitar to be a guitar solo, what would be another way to do it? Currently, they sound like a whisper, um, and I didn't really come up with anything. Chat room, help me out here. How would you do that? It could be like a filter thing or something like that, but some other way to get the vocals out of the way of the guitar solo if you want the guitar solo that far forward instead of like a duet kind of thing. What's something interesting you could do besides just make the volume really low? Like they're still in there, but I can't really hear them, but the guitar solo is going to town. So cool. Maybe that's okay too. That can totally be a subjective thing and you might like that one. 6 of 1 says, Mark, you might not hear it in the speakers either in 40 years. Nice. That's awesome. Okay. XICO asks, how do I submit my mix? So we are here on puremix.com, Mixtank. So if you go to puremix.com, then go to Mixtank, subscribers to Puremix can upload their mixes there to answer your question. So if you're a Puremix subscriber, get over there and upload one and then tell me the name of it and we'll try to get to it. All right. And also, I think I could do maybe 2 more after Nana. So if I missed anybody, first come, first serve. Awesome. All right, here we go. Nana version 5. Nice. Okay, here we go.
Salve, Senhora das águas do mar, do sono tranquilo das almas. Ouça meu grito sem voz. Vou fenecer de paixão, pouco a pouco morro dentro de mim. É triste esse meu gurufim. Foi proibido esse amor no gongar, malê me manjar, eu amo naná, minha irmã de Santo Odóia. Intervém Oxalá, desde o meu canto lá, aos roncós de alegria.
That is gorgeous. Amazing, 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 amazing job, Danilo. That is so good. I love it. Very nice. Okay, so I think it sounds beautiful. That's it. Okay, the only thing I think I have to say, I have three things, three maybe four. So once the band is in, the instrumental at the beginning of it, my first instinct is the vocals a little bit dark, um, a little bit dark, but also the darkness of it has a mood to it that I really really liked. So it was like, meh, maybe it's fine. Let's keep going, right? And then once the band comes in, you have other instruments again going off of like context. You have other instruments that are setting the tone for the brightness of the track, right? Like how bright is this song? We learn that once the band comes in and we have the shakers and the other high end elements that are happening inside of the song. So once those are in, then I felt like, yes, the vocal's dark. Before that, it was like, maybe it's dark, but it's also like a texture or a choice or, like, it's like how Billie Eilish is dark compared to Ariana Grande, which are completely different genres, but than your track. But both of them are right. Like Ariana Grande is not so bright that it's unlistenable. It's it makes my teeth shine a little bit, but and then Billie Eilish is so dark that it's not too dark to be considered, sloppy. It's just very calm or whatever, very dark. So that's, I guess, my all of my point to say is like up until the band came in, I felt like the vocal was fine. Once I heard the other high end elements in the track, then I felt like the vocal was dark. So you could approach that in one of two ways. You can brighten the vocal, or you don't have to do any of this if you really dig it. But you could brighten the vocal, or you could darken the percussion and all of the other elements that are occupying the treble of the track, and just bring those down a little bit to match the brightness of the vocal. So that's just a decision of which one do I like. Also, if you like how tall the percussion is, don't touch the top end because it has a height to it to me because of the amount of treble that's up there. It's not so bright that it's offensive. It's just bright compared to the vocal, right? The vocal tells me like the bass line of the track, and then the percussion's telling me the outer fence of it, if that makes sense. So that's that. The other thing is the conga that comes in with the band. I can't tell you the rhythm or the beats that it was playing on. I didn't count it, but it's a conga. It's slightly on the right, and I felt like it could use a little bit more top end or definition from it. Just hearing a little bit more of that because it felt like an important part of the groove to me, and I wanted to hear. I didn't want it to be louder. I just wanted to be a little bit more clear. The claps felt to me like they might be considered loud. If that is very important to this, that they are that loud, and that's like helping the song push along, then that's it. And basically, I'd say if you like this, you're done. Like it sounds really really great to me. Let's see what the chat thinks, because I think it's amazing. Uh, see you 601. Thanks for joining in. Awesome. Brazil, yeah, nice. Okay, great stuff. When the intensity comes in, for me, the balance tipped too much in the highs, high mids, bass balance. Yeah, cool. So Zuesk kind of had the same comment. Um, Man, yeah. Neil says I don't know the genre, but for me, more thump in the kick and bass drum would be good. Yeah, that's all like subjective stuff. Man, I feel like this is really, really, really good. Um, just again, approach it with a fresh take. And I think once again, not to get like all up in feelings and all that stuff, but it's music. We're supposed to be. Um, what is the emotion of the dark vocal? What's the emotion of the bright percussion? Bright percussion is excitement, like that groove is excitement, the tempo of it, and all of that stuff. So yeah, emotionally, think about what the song wants to be and approach it that way versus like, is this technically too bright or is the vocal technically too dark? Like, throw it all out the window and just think about the emotion that you get when you listen to it. If you put this on, like, say you pull it up tomorrow and you put this on and you're like, that felt great, don't touch a thing. If you put it on and you have the slightest passing thought, oh, that percussion's really bright, then maybe do something about it and see if it emphasizes all of your other intentions. But this is really, really beautiful. And another question, I can't remember if you told us last time, but did you play on this as well? Is this you as well? Because very cool. Okay, awesome. Danilo says, I lowered the top end of the congas so that they would sit better backwards. So, nice. and maybe you leave the top end of the congas there and just maybe also dip out some of the low mid stuff or like some of the, mid-range cloud stuff. So not thinking about like 1K or whatever. I'm thinking more like 300. What happens if you do just a little bit of that? Do you get a little bit more transient where it stays in the same place, front to back wise, depth wise, volume wise, but it just becomes a little bit more clear? Unless you don't want it to be clear and it fits in the groove that way for you, then there you go. That's great. Awesome. All right. We'll move on to the next one. Mixing and strings, bass arrangements, and samples. Awesome job. Yeah, you killed it, Danila. This is awesome. Very cool. I hope you feel good about this mix because that's really good. Okay. That was the last one I had submitted. I don't see any other ones in the chat. If I've missed you, please yell at me now and we'll get back in there. I'm going to answer a question. So, Jorg says, the LUFS analyzer function on the web page, is it deactive? It still doesn't work for weeks. So to answer your question, so I think that the LUFS analyzer has not been transferred over to V3, but what you can do is download Decibel. And a really cool trick with Decibel is anything that you drag onto Decibel will do a quick analysis of it and then give you those same readings. So my thought is that the developers probably haven't prioritized it on getting it over to the version 3 of the website because you have that functionality in Decibel, and everybody who's on Puremix has Decibel. So yeah, make sure you have Decibel and you play with it. If not, you would go into, I'll show you guys right now because I don't think we have another mix. So if I'm in Puremix, go over to the circle with your profile picture over on the right. You can go to manage profile, or alternatively, I think you can just go to plugins on the top and then redeem licenses. And you will see all the plugins that are available to you with your Puremix subscription. So as long as you have Puremix, these things are active. You deposit the license in your account and you're good to go. Everybody has Decibel in there, so make sure you go get that. You also have Sugar, Spice Rack, Mix Up. The SP 2016 is amazing. It actually has a front to back slider on it, so that's really cool for doing the Z-plane thing too. And Drum Replacer, hands down to me, the best drum replacement software on the market. I don't see a contender, and I don't know why I would even pull anything else up. It's so good. Definitely check that out. And that was one I think that we chased after them because we were like, hey, this thing's incredible. Everybody needs to have it. So, yeah. So there you go. So, yeah, Jorg, you could download Decibel and you just grab your file, drag it on top of the Decibel interface. It'll run a quick analysis and then give you the readout that you would get the same way that you did with the website. So hopefully that helps you out. Okay. Guys, I think that's it. I think we did the thing. Thank you guys so much for joining in today. And man, a freaking amazing music. Jorg says, did not use it until today. You have the Hoffa analyzer. Nice. Yeah, give it a try. I think it'll solve your issue for you. While they get that rebuilt into version 3 and all that. But there's so many things to do with getting over to version 3. So thank you guys for your patience with all that. And thank you guys for submitting your music today. It was incredible. I had a blast. Next week, we are going to be doing another great big plugin show, and we're going to be taking a look at Master Plan from a company called Music Hack. So we already have that lined up, and it's going to be really fun. I've already been playing with the plugin. It's an interesting one, so make sure you tune in for that. That's next Monday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And then the Monday after that, so April 17th, we'll be back here for another Mix Tank Live, and I hope to see you guys then. We're bi-weekly with Mix Tank and with the Great Big Plugin Show, so just alternating Mondays and all that. But yeah, I hope to hear more versions of the songs that we heard today. Everybody did such a great job, and shout out to everybody for submitting music. It's not an easy thing to throw your stuff up for everybody to comment on. It takes some bravery, and I think everybody did a great job. It's very cool. All right, guys. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Cheers. Bye.